Writing Biz. The Writing Biz is designed to help writers manage their business. Today, my guest is Charlotte Pierce of Pierce Press, and she's the co-president also of the Independent Publishers of New England, IPNE, I-P-N-E. She's an experienced editor and publisher, and Charlotte has a lot of great information and insight that she can share with us. Did I miss anything?
Well, I have so many interests. It's kind of...
I know. It's hard to narrow it down.
It's hard to narrow it down. We were talking about business pages for Google Plus. I think I have about 5 of them or something. I'm thinking about adding another one. But anyway, yeah, I'm really happy to be here, and it's like I was saying to you earlier. It's, as a publisher, a small publisher, I run into a lot of the same issues as independent authors or people that are trying to make a living at the writing business. So I can relate, and I can also, empathize with some of the struggles. You just want to do your books. You just want to write, and you don't want to have to think about that other stuff, as you know, because you've helped me, attend to some of the tasks that I need to do with my bookkeeping and so forth. So.
Yeah, it can be pretty confusing for writers because a lot of them, they're writers, not necessarily business people. And when they're asked to do the tasks that it requires to run a business, that can create quite a learning curve and sometimes complete disinterest, which can get them in trouble.
Right. I mean, I've gotten in trouble, because I just hate to do bookkeeping, and I hate to do budgeting, and I'm just having to prop myself up in those areas of weakness that I have. So.
Yeah. That's something we're going to address next week, just so you know.
Good. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there. So. Yeah.
Today, I really want to talk about the challenges that writers find in their businesses and how they can overcome them. I mean, is it a lack of knowledge, a lack of resources? What can they do to improve the business size of their writing so that they can get back to what they want to do is writing? And I think that there's so many ways that groups have addressed writing to writers and how to write better, to give critiques and editorial things, that they've forgotten about the business of writing sometimes. There's not a lot of information out there, and a lot of the information that I've found is scant. I mean, let's say it'll say something like the five steps that you can take to run your writing business. Well, there's not 5 steps. So you tell somebody to make sure you take care of the taxes. Well, there needs to be, how do you do that? You can't just, people throw information out there, but they don't really give really valid, concrete ways to take care of the business side of writing. And that's what I'm going to try to do. And
I think it's a really valuable service because it does. I think it serves to focus you and make you a better writer. When you have to be responsible for.
I agree. And the thing, it all drives you to make a better day for yourself. If you know that you have to do these other chores outside of writing, to my opinion, you focus better on each task that you need to do if it's driven towards something else.
And it's more satisfying. I mean, otherwise, like David Godine, a publisher I know here in Boston, he says, if you're not cognizant of those, the whole context of what you're doing as a publisher, then you're a privateer, which is, you're just putting stuff out for yourself and your family.
Exactly.
At the most. So
that brings me to a thought that I had. I think that one of the problems that writers have is that they begin writing as something personal, a hobby, something that they do for themselves, and suddenly they're creating this work that is marketable, or they believe is marketable, and now it's becoming a business, and they're not prepared for that.
Right.
I think that's part of where that disconnect kind of happens.
Yeah, and if you just kind of think, I'm writing this great stuff, I want to share it with people, how do I do that?
Right.
And I think one of the things we tell small publishers, and a lot of our members in IPNE are authors that have done a book and wanted to self-publish it, but we tell them along with your manuscript development or your idea book development, start creating a platform for yourself. And social media is, God's gift to platform building. You don't have to go out and pound the pavement as much as you used to. You have to know the ins and outs and the strategies for handling social media, but it's there. It's a fertile ground, and I've been working with you on some projects, and I'm starting to see that stuff really bear fruit. Like the LinkedIn post you did, that's platform building, and we're collaborating on that, so it's building both of our platforms.
Right. Right.
So.
Exactly. But I think too that that's a double-edged sword, because if you don't have good social media skills, you tend to spend too much time time on it, or too much time doing the wrong things.
Right.
And I think that needs to be addressed.
Mm-hmm.
And also and I'm sure you can speak to this much better than I can, so much of the marketing and the business of writing has fallen on the writer that used to be handled by the publishing houses.
Exactly. I mean, unless you're Stephen King or Jodi Picoult or something like that, you're going to be doing it yourself. They'll publish, they'll put out a press release, and that's about it.
Right.
So you really, you just kind of have to do that step. Well, you have to do some of it. You have to kind of incrementally improve your skills in that area, or hire somebody.
Yeah, and I think that with the entry being less expensive into the publishing arena to get something published, a lot of writers that never intended, I think you understand what I mean, never really intended to be writers, are finding themselves, with something they want to communicate.
You mean that they never intended to be published, or
published? Right?
Yeah.
Yes. But I mean, maybe even sometimes writers, they may be has spent all their years in business, and then, their friend said, you should write a book. You do that so well. So they end up writing a book because they know that the entry's easier, but they had never intended for that to happen. So they don't really understand the writing business. It's not something they really read about or paid attention to, at which a writer would.
Yeah.
Can I explain that a little better?
Yeah, and I think you have to decide what your goals are. You want to put out minimal effort and just have a book, and so when you go to a party or a convention, you can hand it out, and that's fine. If that's your goal, that's fine. But if you want to make it a success, or make a living, or just make enough money to buy your toys, like I got all these cameras and things. I need my toys financed.
Yeah, that's true.
And,
that's true.
So there's, just to be clear, and then you can put out the effort it takes. You have to be willing to put out the effort it takes to make that happen.
Absolutely.
That goal, however modest it may be, or grandiose.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to hit on some topics that I hope to be going over with on this show. We're getting some comments. That's great to see. That makes me happy.
Let me check the...
Things I'd like to cover: courses marketing. I mean, we all know that's a big one for writers, really big. Like I said, next week is time management, because there's no point in really going with anything else without understanding time management, how to get the best use of your time, because that can really put you at a stopgap.
Yeah, that is so much. I'm so there. And you are really one of the best that I've met on Google Plus about helping with time management. I
try. Really... Sometimes, it's not a perfect format.
Yeah, I mean, like the independence, you have to just be everything, so you have to kind of figure out when to get help, when to collaborate, and like I said,
and that's a big piece of the puzzle there also, is to know when to delegate something, when to get help with it. And that's another thing that I want to eventually cover, is like hiring virtual assistants, knowing how to hire an attorney that understands the writing business, or an accountant that understands, the freelancing business is very different in the way that the taxes are done. I mean, you have your 1099s and things like that. but the federal government hasn't even really figured out how they want to address freelancing.
Here's the Ammon Johns. I think I was on he was on a Hangout I saw a long time ago. But they try to make their hobby and passion pay, and then write about the thing they have no passion for. Find the passion in every topic, says Ammon.
Yep,
excellent
absolutely.
Comment. Yeah.
Yep, very good comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. But I want to hear too from the people listening today, and I'm also going to start a Google Plus community and a LinkedIn community for writers to talk about the business of writing. But I'm really interested to see what individual writers' problems are. And I mean, I'm sure, I'm thinking broad topics. I'm sure they can drill it down a lot better, because it is their own business. I know that one of my problems that I'm coming up with right now is I'm kind of in a limbo on hiring somebody. And one of the problems I have in this area, I really want somebody that can come sit next to me and hold my hand. But
why don't you barter something? Like, you and I do that kind of stuff.
Well, in my area, to have somebody come so I can, work with them hand in hand directly, I would be very hard pressed to find anybody with any experience that's going to be valuable to me. But because this is a social media Sahara Desert, like I told Carmen today on her show, if it's not Facebook, it doesn't exist in this county.
Oh God, I know. I run into that so much. I mean,
exactly. So I mean, the learning curve would be really difficult for me to hire somebody locally. So I've got to figure.
Here's Carmen just dropped in. She says she's listening and eating at the same time. So she's multitasking like usual.
Yeah, like usual. That's true. That girl is a dynamo.
I know. You got a lot of great people here. Kristen Drysdale. She said, absolutely, the willingness to put in the effort and then applying that willingness will produce results. The two are proportionate.
There's another girl, don't know where she gets her energy. She has 5 or 6 kids and just participates with everybody and always has the kindest things to say. She is miraculous.
She's at Project 31 too, isn't she?
Yes, she is. Yeah, yes, she is. Yep.
And Cheryl Deuce is here. Elena Bellametti, I haven't met her yet, but that's great. Wayne Nix, Ammon John.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, Wayne's got a lot of good things going on too. He's been staying busy. But so I want to start the Google Plus community for this show particularly, and I'm also going to put together a weekly email newsletter. And I thought about that, if I was going to do that or not. And I decided to, because sometimes after the show closes, you think of so many other ways you could go deeper into subjects, or there's resources you want to share or whatever. And I'm going to give it a try and see if it's, holds any value. If people like it, I'll keep doing it. If not, it's going off my plate.
What about doing it monthly or bi-monthly at first, just so you don't overwhelm yourself?
I was going to try it weekly at first, and then if I do overwhelm myself, go to monthly or bi-monthly. Just because the shows are weekly.
Yeah,
so
that's
I want it to attach, directly.
Well, how does that relate to the blog post then? I mean, you put out a blog post after each show, right? Or you will?
Yeah, but the blog post won't be that extensive. It'll be basically, here's a video and this is what we talked about.
So the newsletter will be about like more in-depth information for people? Okay.
Right. Yeah. Right. Better resources, more information. I just think that, and I'm going to see if it works. I'm not even sure if it's going to work. So we'll see.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you've got quite an entourage here, so there's lots of comments going.
And there's a lot of people, too, that may not have the time to sit down and watch a broadcast like this, or want to spend time in communities, but they might read the newsletter.
What about a podcast? Because, sometimes I just love listening to stuff and not having to sit and watch it and direct my attention to it.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I don't see any reason not to do that. And I was...
you and I ought to do that with Indie Office Hours. We
really should
figure out how to do it, and it's like Susan Finch said one time. It's just like really easy. You just have to follow a few steps, and I know we can do it. Yeah.
It is. I looked into it, and it's not very difficult. I have a bunch of notes on it in one of my notebooks.
Oh, good.
But it's not that difficult. I'll check into that, and because I do think that there's such a value with podcasts, particularly if you're busy. You know, I'll listen to a podcast while I'm doing laundry or cleaning the house or something like that, and some of those are absolutely invaluable to me.
Yeah.
Ryan Hanley, you know, who now is doing HOAs.
Started out with podcasts.
I've been listening to him for a long time, and I adore him. The only thing I didn't like about the podcast that made me so happy when he came on to Google Plus is the lack of interaction.
Yes.
So that was
true.
That was wonderful to be able to ask him a question directly and get an answer, or to tell him how much I appreciated it to him was awesome. And I think that's one
why it's nice to have two people on the video thing, because then we can pull up the comments from the event page, and we had a little issue with getting them into the Hangout itself, but I'm reading them, so keep commenting, everyone. We love you.
The other things I wanted to cover was like financing and setting up crowdfunding campaigns. That is just really starting to get some traction for authors. But speaking of Ryan Hanley.
Yeah, I have a lot of reservations about that. I just think, I don't know. I mean, it seems like it is a lot of work, and I think a lot of people are going to be doing it.
It is a lot of work.
I mean, it comes back to your platform. You know, you're going to be more successful at crowdfunding and financing your book or your print run or whatever than if you have the platform. If you
have to have a platform first.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it has to be a genuine one. Like, yeah, go ahead. I don't mean to interrupt.
That's something that writers are beginning to understand, is that building that platform starts before you put the words on the paper.
Right. It starts with your passions and your interests. Like Kathleen Colvin, another Project 31 person, does the Roman historical fiction, and she posts almost every other day a really interesting nugget about Roman life and relates it to modern life, and it informs people and they engage. I mean, her posts get amazing engagement.
Yep.
And when she publishes her book, all those people are going to go to her link and buy the book, or check it out, or
now
share
see
it,
somebody like that crowdfunding work really well on. Ryan Hanley's in the middle of a crowdfunding campaign for his book.
Okay.
And in 3 days he's collected, I think it's 42%. It's probably more now, but last time I saw it was 42% of the money that he needed. Now that's remarkable. But he had a huge platform to start with.
Absolutely, and that
makes a difference. Yeah. But it's a good way. It's a good way to get your friends and your family involved, and the audience that you do have, and also it's a good way to give back to them, because you can offer them. They do all kinds of things, and there's crowdfunding platforms. They do cover contests. They do snippets of the book. They'll put the depending on what level of donation you give, they'll put them into the book, in the as a thank you. I mean, on and on and on. There's a lot to it. There's so many ways you can use it. But that's one of the things.
Are you going to do a session on that on crowdfunding?
Yeah, I think so. And like I said, financing, staying organized, not just time management, but staying organized, which I think is an issue. A lot of creative people are, and I don't mean, well, I'm going to kind of use this as a label, but I don't mean it like in a negative way, or a little attention deficit. They're kind of all over the place, and that's what makes their yeah, and me too. That's why I have all these fail safes in place. Honest to God,
I know.
I'm terrible, and that talking to me, I'll talk about 10 different subjects in like 5 minutes. My daughter says sometimes it's like being in a pinball machine with you, Mom. It's like all over the place.
Outline what outline?
I know. So that's how I got good at time management. It's because I had to put all these fail safes in place to get done what I needed to get done throughout my life. Because I've always had a lot going on, so I had to figure out how to make room for this or that. Or
I think scattered people can almost be more organized than non-scattered people, because they just their life sort of depends on putting these systems in place.
Sure, and when I was growing up, they didn't have any medication to give us.
Yeah.
So I had to learn to make lists and to understand that time was not my friend.
Yeah.
And then if I didn't control the time, it was going to control me.
There
and
you
so
go.
that's what I had to do. And then,
yeah,
I'll tell you what really turned that light on is the very first job I ever had, and I can say, thank goodness, the only job I was ever fired from was because I was always late for work.
Yeah.
Always.
Just
actually,
one or two more things.
I completely forgot to go to work.
Yeah.
That had happened. So after that, I said I was so mortified that I'd gotten fired that I said this is never going to happen to me again. And the way I did it was making lists and calendars, and I kept lists and calendars. And then eventually I went and took a seminar with Franklin Covey, which was just awesome.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, awesome.
Well, I've got the comment from Kristen Drysdale. She says, yes, yes, yes! Creative ADD rocks!
I am sure she suffers from it because I don't even know if suffers is the right word because I think she's learned how to use it to her advantage.
Hey, we love our ADD, you know.
Oh yeah, no, that's how you get a lot done and get a lot of creativity going.
Yeah, I mean, I love my life, it's scattered as it is, but
yeah.
And then Ammon Johns says, yeah, a lot of great people here. Hey, don't forget me. A lot of great people and one curmudgeon.
That's pretty funny.
I didn't. That's not the first word I would have thought of.
But I was going to keep this first show at just at a half an hour, which we're getting real close to, and the reason being, I just wanted to get out there what I was trying to do, get some people interested in it, and I want to make a couple of things really, really clear. One, there will be no blatant self-promotion on this table, not from me, not from my guests. I might have a guest on who has a wonderful resource or tool of some sort, and they'll discuss it, but there won't be any, buy, because it's not what this is about. Either you can use a tool or you can't. Everybody has, their own budgets or what they need, and I don't want anybody to feel that I'm trying to force feed them anybody's agenda, and I mean that.
Yeah, I think.
And if it gets to be like that, I'll just stop because it's not valuable for what I want to do anymore. Right. So I wanted to make sure that was super, super clear. And the other thing is I really do want to hear questions. I want to hear what's working for people, what's not working for people, because this is intended to be a community. I don't want to just sit here and talk. I don't want to just throw my guests up there to talk. I want everybody to participate and interact so that we can collaborate and invent new ways for us to make our businesses better.
Excellent. And there's a comment from Yoshi Takeda, who must have come from the public post I put up, but, oh, wait a second, I'm sorry. Cool, but how do you sign up?
Okay.
So I think he wants to know how you get on the list to invite and stuff.
Okay, the easiest way is, of course, I'll go through the comments and anybody that I don't have in my circle. I'm going to start a circle specifically for this show with the people that come into the show. Another way is if you're interested in the newsletter, you can go to my website at www.goodinklings.com and you can sign up for the newsletter there after tomorrow, not today. I didn't get that done. After tomorrow, you can. Well, you can.
Is it on your list though?
Yeah, you can go to the contact page and just put a note in there. I did get the contact thing straightened out where you could check off you wanted a newsletter, so you can do that. And what else? If you answer an invite to this show, like on the next show, I'll make sure to send you one. It'll automatically go into your Google Calendar. So it can even remind you of when the show is on.
Yeah,
so
that's great.
I was
wondering if it might be good to have some project for people that are following it, to keep a journal about how you're doing or something.
Oh, that would be a great idea.
Yeah,
that's a very good idea.
Kind of like an accountability thing,
Yep.
How am I doing?
Yeah, that's a very good idea. And I mean, if anybody's interested to throw themselves into the ring to be a case study too, we can do that and just have maybe for like a month, have you on the show for a month and see what kind of progress you have. I'm open to anything that's going to actually help somebody.
Well, Carmen Rojas has a salient comment here. She says, "There is order to my chaos."
Oh, And she's probably talking with her mouth full. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I know. And feeding the dog and doing homework helping. And so, Carmen, we love you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, she definitely has methods to her madness. And she stays on top of her stuff, I'll tell you.
So Carmen's got the camel jacket chat.
Yes. Yes, and I was on that today. We talked about content writing. It was a pretty good show. I enjoyed it.
I know, she's a great host.
She makes it very easy, just like you do when we do the. Well, if you don't know, Charlotte and I also do the indie office hours on Tuesdays at noon, and it is most of our topics have to do with publishing or author-related type things. So it's really very interesting. We've had some great guests on there from all over the world.
Yeah, we got Yael Shahar from Israel is going to be back on next week talking about the workflow of from ebooks to print to other formats, interactive ebooks and stuff like that. So how do you kind of get the same manuscript into different formats? So,
oh, that's going to be really interesting.
Yeah.
I'm going to make sure to watch that because I have some questions about Scrivener that she may be able to answer for me.
Yeah, Scrivener is good.
Yeah, I heard that it is, and I mean, I don't want to really get into it now, but I heard it's pretty easy to be able to move it into different formats from Scrivener. So we'll see. We'll see what she thinks about that. What I hear and what's the truth is sometimes two different things. So.
And Ammon Johns wants us to. He's a character. This guy. Quick, girls, put up an affiliate link for the gold pen and say sign up with this fabulous pen. Only $129.99.
That's funny. Yeah, I don't think we'd get away with that.
Yeah. We'll let him get away with the girls thing, though, right?
Yeah. Now that we've just shamelessly plugged Carmen and ourselves, I think we'll go ahead and close for the night. But Charlotte, thanks so much for seeing me through this first show, and for all your help with it. And also, I do think that as we move forward, that we are going to be able to offer some value. So I hope everybody hangs in there. And
thanks, everyone.
Yep. Let me know if you have any questions or any ideas. I'd love to hear them. All right. Thank you.
Ciao.